G'day everyone and welcome to Let's Play BioShock. So BioShock was released in 2007, published by 2K Games and developed by Irrational Games, and is described as a spiritual successor to the 1999 title System Shock 2, which was also developed by Irrational Games. While the game received critical acclaim, the expected commercial sales were far below expectations. As such, Irrational Games were looking to develop something that would be even more successful. Then along came BioShock. Remastered in 2016 as part of the BioShock collection, this is the game I'll be let's playing. For this project I'll be attempting a full playthrough of the entirety of the main storyline, showcasing its enemies, weapons, plasmids, levels, lore, and characters in the process, as well as a number of secrets and glitches along the way. I'll also be including various enemy bios and strategies, so there'll be some small weapon and level spoilers included, so fair warning. In regards to the story and plot developments, however, I'll be allowing the game to reveal details as intended, so you won't need to worry about spoilers there. And just a fair warning, this game does have a number of elements that you might find frightening, distressing, upsetting, or depressing, so if you don't feel like you're in the mood or something like that, feel free to click away. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy Let's Play BioShock.
They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Well, that's a hell of a way to make a landing, huh? G'day guys, and welcome to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where we apparently not going to freeze our butts off because we were somehow lucky enough to land right next to a giant lighthouse here in the middle of the ocean. Are we lucky or what? So fair warning, this game has a fair few scenes where there's a lot of gore and a lot of blood, a lot of violence, very dark themes, horror themes, and some scenes are just overall depressing. So if you don't feel up to watching something like that, I might advise you click away. But if you do love that sort of stuff, you're gonna get plenty of it in this LP. So let's move forward. So as you can see, I have actually got the art subtitles on, just in case there's anything that's not quite clear enough for you guys to see. But I also have the dialogue subtitles on too. So for this Let's Play, I'm going to be attempting a full playthrough of the main storyline, but I will be specifically avoiding, any sort of spoilers. There will be some weapon and plasmid and location spoilers, but nothing related to the plot or the storyline. I may in fact even try to subvert you guys a little bit, mislead you. So fair warning. But for now, we descend into the freezing cold of the Atlantic Ocean, and we hopefully learn to speak properly. And there's going to be something coming up, so I don't want to talk too much.
am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
Real life Atlantis.
Just one more minute. Spear's coming up now. Johnny, security's banging off all over. Get a move on. No trespass. Just don't hurt me. Just let me go. Give me my gun.
Is it someone new?
Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?
I don't know how you survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive. Now keep on moving. We're gonna have to get you to higher ground. Take a deep breath and step out of the bathysphere. I won't leave you twisting in the wind.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's step outside the only thing that kept us safe from that murderous woman, on the word of a complete stranger that we know absolutely nothing about. Yeah, we're gonna do that.
We're gonna need to draw her out of hiding, but you're gonna have to trust me.
Actually, while she is in hiding, that means she can't kill me, so it's probably a good idea for her to just stay in hiding where she is. That way I live, she lives, I guess.
I'll wrap you in a sheet.
That doesn't sound very nice, thank you. I would rather you don't do that. Please.
Just a bit further. How do you like that, sister? Now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Bloody splicer. Seal Johnny in before they... Goddamn splicers.
Isn't he so polite? Would you kindly? And don't you love that accent? I mean, everybody else here has tried to kill me so far, but him is being polite, saying, would you kindly, instead of kicking a flaming couch down at me. And welcome to your first fight of the game. Pretty easy, combat's pretty simple. Use the right stick to swing your wrench. And don't let your enemy hit you too much. So if you die to this guy, you're not doing so well. So, two of the pickups in the game are Eve Hypos and First Aid Kits. So First Aid Kits are your source of health. Up in the top right, you'll see that red bar that indicates how much health you currently have. And the one next to it indicates how many First Aid Kits you carry. You can carry a maximum of 9. If your health bar completely empties, you will die. So don't let that happen. The blue bar indicates how much Eve you have. Eve is basically this game's version of magical abilities. So every time you use an Eve ability, the blue bar will decrease a little bit until it is empty. When it is emptied, you will use an Eve Hypo, which is what that one next to the blue bar indicates, is how many Eve Hypos you're currently carrying. Eve Hypos will be used automatically when the blue bar empties, however, First Aid Kits will not be used automatically, so you have to remember to use those, otherwise you will die. And just before we deal with these two creepy looking children, we will check these bins because there's some supplies. And now we have our first Gatherer's Garden and the Electrobolt Plasmid.
Steady now. Your genetic code is being rewritten. Just hold on and everything will be fine.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam on him. Let's buck. Weak. You're a weak chopper. This little fish ain't worth towing it with no big daddy. Yellow. Always have been. You'll be no better off with a metal daddy, little fish. See you floating from my feet.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's all right. I know he'll be an angel soon.
You alright, Boyle? First time plasmid's a real kick from a mule. But there's nothing like a fistful of lightning now, is there?
Well, I guess that's what I get for sticking a strange, dirty needle in my arm. So we will continue onwards, and have the plane kick us when we're down already. And it wasn't enough that the plane crashed, it also has to get in our way yet again. So remember, we are at the bottom of the ocean, so cracking glass and water getting in everywhere is very, very bad, because we cannot breathe underwater. So we should get out of here. So in addition to pickups like the First Aid Kits and Eve Hypos, there are also certain items that we cannot store, but will be used automatically, like potato chips. Any food items will give us back a little bit of health. Cigarettes will take away a little bit of health, but also give us back a little bit of Eve. And on the inverse, there should be some Arcadia Merlot. So there are a few different types of alcohol in the game as well. All of them will give us back a bit of health, but take away a bit of Eve. So cigarettes and alcohol are a bit of a strategic choice. You don't want to use cigarettes when you've got almost no health and heaps of Eve left.
Splicer! Give him the combo. Zap him, then whack him. 1-2 punch. Remember, the 1-2 punch!
Welcome to our first enemy of the game,
I was just getting
the Thuggish Splicer.
You gotta be rich down here to meet a lady. They don't care how nice you are.
Horribly mutated and driven insane by the severe and prolonged use of the addictive gene-altering substance known as Adam, Splicers are all that remain of the denizens of the city of Rapture. In BioShock, splicers come in 5 variants, the first variant being the Thugger Splicer. Erratic and violent Thugger Splicers travel either alone or in groups. Their approach marked by the sound of their weapon dragging along the ground, and will attack anyone they see as a threat, using any blunt object they can wield as a weapon, such as pipes, wrenches, flashlights, and even rakes in later levels. Despite being completely limited to just melee attacks and having relatively low health, Thugger Splicers can be quite agile, making them hard to hit and a formidable threat when within melee range. They also tend to advance in a straight line towards their target, making their movements rather predictable at a distance, but becoming more difficult to predict once they get within melee range. In addition to growing physically stronger as the game progresses, later variants of Thugger Splicer also become immune to all forms of electrical damage, making strategies that use it less effective. Notable strategies include using the Electrobolt and the Wrench to deal quadruple damage, using anti-personnel rounds from a distance, which, like all unarmored enemies, Thugger Splicers are weak to, using Incinerate from a distance and avoiding their attacks, and making use of attacks such as Sports Boost, Armored Shell, and Wrench Jockey to gain the physical edge on them. So they go down pretty easy. This game cans you their kryptonite early on. Literally just hit them once with Electrobolt, and as I said, Eve will be used automatically when you empty the bar. So with Thugger Splicers, literally just hit them once with Electrobolt and then hit them with the wrench, and it'll basically do quadruple damage as compared to a regular wrench attack, and it'll usually kill them. Also, these are Vita Chambers. Depending on whether you got this enabled or not, I do have this enabled. Vita Chambers will resurrect you should you die. So if you do die, you will be resurrected at the nearest Vita Chamber. So there isn't actually a game over to this game. You don't ever actually have to worry about dying. But it's more for pride, I suppose.
Tell Ryan I'm sorry. I won't do it again. No, please, please, don't do that. The whole thing will go. No!
And somehow he survived that. But I suppose we just survived a plane crash, so... yeah, no, this guy's still alive, so we should probably kill him so he doesn't kill us. Okay, I apparently can't jump over a couch, so that's really good.
Listen, I've got a family. I need to get them out of here. But the Splicers have cut me off from them. If you can reach them in Neptune's bounty, then maybe, just maybe... I know you must feel like the unluckiest man in the world right now, but you're the only hope I'll ever see my wife and child again. Go to Neptune's bounty. Find my family, please.
So we have a new goal. Not only do we want to escape this horrid city, we also need to rescue Alice's family, his wife and child.
No one will be there to save me.
And we'll deal with her in just a minute. We'll come over here and grab another first aid kit. The game is pretty flush with supplies to start with, so enjoy them.
And none. Why aren't you here? Why is it today and not then when you were warm and sweet? Why can't Mommy hold you to her breast and feel your teeth? Oh no. No, no, no.
What? Lady, I don't care about you. And yeah, she had a pistol in the pram.
Plasma's changed everything. They destroyed our bodies, our minds. We couldn't handle it. Best friends butchering one another. Babies strangled in cribs. The whole city went to hell.
So, yeah. Sometime during the year 1959, actually towards the end of the year 1959, there was a civil war that caused a lot of the damage that you see here, and a lot of the damage around Rapture. But there's also been a year of infighting since then, which has also caused a lot of damage to the city too. with that, say hello to our second splicer type of the game, the Leadhead Splicer.
You call that tenderloin? If you serve that in any respectable hotel in New York, they'd laugh you out of town.
Take a splicer that's just as horribly mutated and psychotic as a thickest splicer, make them even tougher, slap a gun in their hands, and you have the Leadhead Splicer. Leadhead Splicers are the second variant of Splicer in the game, who despite being just as spliced and addicted to the gene-altering substance Atom, have managed to retain enough fine motor functions to operate a gun. Their presence can also be noted by the sound of them spitting the cylinder of their revolvers they carry in earlier levels. Due to their choice of weaponry, Leadhead Splicers are understandably a serious threat over long ranges, but can also deliver blunt attacks with their weapons when in melee range. In addition to their threat at longer ranges, Leadhead Splicers also boast a higher damage output, as well as a higher resistance to damage themselves. Leadhead Splicers also appear to possess greater strategic prowess, able to effectively dodge range attacks and make use of cover. In addition to also becoming even stronger throughout the game, Leadhead Splicers also upgrade to machine guns later on, further increasing their damage output. Notable strategies include using telekinesis to create shields and long-distance projectiles, using target dummy to distract them and leave them open to attack, using anti-personnel rounds from a distance, which, like all unarmored enemies, Leadhead Splicers are weak to, and using Incinerate to cause continuous damage whilst remaining in cover. And as you can see, they're a little bit tougher. In addition to not just being limited to melee weapons, they also have access to enough fine motor function to be able to use firearms. But they're still not too difficult, they're not anything we can't handle. So, Arcadia Merlot, we're not going to use that. Another first aid kit. Like I said, the game is pretty flush with them at the beginning of the game, but they'll become a lot harder to get your hands on towards the end, so enjoy them. And if we step back outside,
If you spot a splicer in the water, hit him with the electrobolt.
so not only can Electrobolt stun enemies that you hit with it, if they happen to be in the water, it's pretty much an instant kill. But make sure you're not standing in the water when you use it, because otherwise it will do damage to you. And we also have our very first audio diary of the game, New Year's Eve Alone.
Another New Year's, another night alone. I'm out and you're stuck in Festus, working. Imagine my surprise. Well, just guess I'll have another drink. Here's a toast to Diane McClintock, silliest girl in Rapture. Silly enough to fall in love with Andrew Ryan. Silly. What happened? I'm bleeding. Oh God. What's happening?
So yeah, there's a little snippet to the beginning of the Rapture Civil War, the beginning of the fall of Rapture, and quite a few of its citizens too, although things were already going to hell before that too, but you'll see that as we go on.
Baby, is that... Do not touch my girl!
Bye. So be aware that using Electrobolt and then the wrench is actually a fairly Eve-intensive strategy for these enemies. But fortunately, we will pick up some other strategies as we go on. Although you would have already seen that.
Too spliced up. I'm too spliced up. Nobody's gonna want me.
And apparently we're seeing ghosts, which is nice, I guess. Hole in bathroom wall.
Hey, Brenda, you care to tell me why you've had a hole in the wall the size of Plymouth Rock coming out of your crapper going on 3 weeks now?
Now, I ain't saying I'm Shakespeare. I'm trying to run a respectable theater. I got working folk coming in from Port Neptune trying to catch a little diversion. And all they can think about is the stink coming out of your shitter. Get it fixed.
Yeah, that doesn't seem nice. But if you'll notice, the audio diary actually made note of a hole in the wall, which was pretty much the subject of the audio diary. So that's a bit of a hint that some audio diaries may actually give us a little bit of an idea about certain things that may come in handy for us, such as a hole in the wall that will allow us to regress.
Careful now. Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute? You think that's a child down there? Don't be fooled. She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster. Whatever you thought about right and wrong on the surface, well, that don't count for much down in Rapture. Those little sisters, they carry Adam, the genetic material that keeps the wheels of Rapture turning. Everybody wants it, everybody needs it.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel.
Due to the atom slugs in the water around Rapture not producing enough atom for manufacturing purposes, Frank Fontaine, without but one rigid Tenenbaum, sought to find a way to create even more of the valuable, powerful resource. Kidnapped from their friends and family, orphaned by the violence of the city, or lured into Fontaine's little sister's orphanage before being forcibly implanted with the notoriously valuable atom slug, little sisters are perhaps believed to be the most valuable being in all of Rapture. While not actually an enemy, nor any kind of threat to you on their own, little sisters are always accompanied by a Big Daddy when not traveling around Rapture by the vents. And the little sister's Big Daddy will fight to the death to protect her from anything she perceived as a threat, which is pretty much everyone that isn't a Big Daddy. Biologically modified and mentally conditioned to have an altered view of the world, little sisters see their Big Daddies as knights in shiny armor, whilst everyone else is a horrific monster intent on hurting them, though unfortunately this often isn't far from the truth. Due to the growing need for Adam, with the aid of Dr. Yi Su-chong, Andrew Ryan had the Little Sisters adapted to be able to extract and reprocess Adam from the blood of corpses, which the Little Sisters see and refer to as angels. Due to the Adam in their bodies, Little Sisters are also virtually indestructible, instantly healing any damaged cells, though this can also result in broken bones healing at incorrect angles. And unfortunately, regardless of their near indestructibility, Little Sisters aren't immune to pain or death.
Time for a nap, sweet angel.
So yeah, that's a little sister. You'll find out more about their history, though you would have also just seen the bio for them too. So yeah, you don't really want to deal with the Big Daddy. So in addition to all the other collectibles in the game, the remastered version of BioShock also has director's commentaries. So there's one of these in each of the levels. I will show you where they are, but I will not be playing them. Because not only are they quite long, I just feel like it'd probably be better for you guys to go watch them for yourselves instead of me including them in this LP and worrying about any sort of copyright claim.
Oh, he's terribly funny.
So yeah, when you're well equipped, even lead-head splicers go down pretty quickly. So headshots do actually do more damage in this game, so if you can, shoot him in the head. Okay, I definitely didn't miss you that badly.
Even in
And remember that trick about Electrobolt? Works yet again. So make sure to keep that in mind. Because it doesn't matter how many splicers there are in a pool of water, if they're in the water and you hit it with Electrobolt, they all die. So it can actually be a useful strategy to lure a bunch of enemies into one pool of water and hit them with Electrobolt if you happen to be running low on Eve. Although typically if you're fighting that many splicers, you're probably not worrying about your Eve too much. You're probably worrying more about not getting killed. So here we go. Here's Neptune's bounty. We get to progress already.
Security alert is off.
Yeah, that's not good. That's right, jump into the water. Ow. So as you can see, the splicers aren't too intelligent. Otherwise, I didn't hear one of them sneaking up on me, so I don't know what that says about me. And just like their compatriots, they're gonna jump into the water and we're just gonna zap them. Alright, so we can't get to Neptune's bounty the short way, we're gonna have to take the long way.
Oh, Christ! You're trapped! Gonna try to override the exit from here!
So tell me, friend, which one of the bitches sent you? The KGB wolf or the CIA jackal? Here's the news. Rapture isn't some sunken ship for you to plunder. And Andrew Ryan isn't a giddy socialite who can be slapped around by government muscle. And with that, farewell. Or До свидания, whichever.
But I should have done everything. Always said the best. You call that you?
With its construction beginning on November 5th, 1946, and ending in the later months of 1951, the city of Rapture is the brainchild of Andrei Ryanovsky, otherwise known as Andrew Ryan. Born in a village near Minsk within the Russian Empire before World War I, Ryan spent 2 years of his childhood under Soviet rule, living under a system of communism. It was during these 2 years that he formed the ideal that the modern world was formed by great men who sought only to make the world their way, a world which was inevitably destroyed whenever a parasite should gain power. After fleeing to America and managing to accrue great wealth through a mixture of good fortune and smart investments, he decided that there was simply nowhere on dry land that the parasites couldn't touch, before he resolved to build the city of Rapture at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Ryan established the city to help himself and others escape the shackles of things such as politics, religion, and even morality. Anything that could be used to stop someone from achieving their dreams or having to share the profits of their efforts. Designed as an entrepreneur's utopia, Rapture was intended to be a haven for the world's best and brightest, where everyone had to fend for themselves and there was no such thing as a free handout, abiding strictly by logical and scientific guidance, abhorring anything that may stand in the way of gain or progress, regardless of its ends or means. Due to Rapture being a society entirely based upon capitalism, there were no publicly funded programs of any sort, such as firefighters, police officers, or medical aid. Every scrap of food, drop of water, and even the very air itself came at a price. As all services were provided on a private-only basis, only Rapture's richest and most fortunate citizens were able to grow or survive, leaving the poorer and less fortunate citizens of the city behind to starve and die, leaving them understandably bitter and resentful of the rich and powerful of Rapture. Due to the growing pressures that poverty and illness brought with them, the less fortunate citizens of Rapture were involved in a revolt against the upper class, resulting in many deaths, much destruction, and the beginning of the Rapture Civil War.
What happened? I'm bleeding. Oh God. What's happening?
After a year of wanton violence and infighting, which continued to tear the already crumbling city apart, a familiar face appeared on Rapture's doorstep. Our protagonist for this game is Jack Winand, a 24-year-old man born in the year 1936 on a farm in Overlook, Kansas, living comfortably with his mother and father. In the year 1960, when on a flight to visit relatives in England, Jack's plane unexpectedly crashes into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, though fortunately right next to the towering lighthouse that served as the surface entrance to the city of Rapture. Now trapped within a real-life Atlantis at the bottom of the ocean, Jack will need to face off against a city of psychotic splicers, mechanical marvels, and murderous abominations, as well as Andrew Ryan himself, if Atlas, his family, or Jack are ever to see the sunlight again.